the meantime, though, did you know that more students will apply to college next year than ever before? That means competition is fierce among those hoping to get into elite universities. But educators say that kind of pressure is creating a class of stressed out overachievers willing to sacrifice almost anything just to make the grade. So, to buck this trend, you might be surprised how far some schools are going.
See that your big toes are touching and rock your weight back in your heels.
When did yoga become a required course to reduce stress among students?
Your tailbone underneath you.
When freshmen like Natasha von Kepler started spending 4 hours a night on homework. That's after 3 hours of basketball practice and a full day of classes preparing for final exams. The pressure can be intense.
It's really like, okay, have you studied for your test? Yeah, yes, Mom, I've studied for my test. But it's kind of like, well, did I study enough? Because I know if I come home with bad grade, they're not going to be very happy.
It's enough to send some students to the breaking point. Stanford professor Denise Pope has seen the effects. She created a program that's helping reduce stress in 45 schools across the nation. It's called SOS, for stressed out students. Does the stress among students these days scare you?
It scares me because of the suicide rates that we're seeing and the real sense of hopelessness in kids. They are experimenting with drugs on a much higher basis. They are binge drinking, not because they want to experiment with alcohol, but they're saying, I've had such a stressful week, I need to get completely drunk this weekend. Much about this scares me. And as a parent, I have 3 kids. I don't want my own kids to have to go through this.
But how do you prevent cheating, sleep deprivation, depression, even eating disorders among some of the nation's top students when there's enormous pressure to get into the elite colleges? Castanea is an all-girls school in Palo Alto, California that subscribes to Professor Pope's SOS plan.
Exhale with a
along with required yoga classes. The school's building a new wellness center. It's also staggered classes, so there are fewer each day, creating less homework. Sonia Swinson is a Castanea senior who is thrilled that finals are now in December instead of January.
I think that moving the finals up to before winter break has not only made the exam studying period less stressful, it's also really made winter break a true break.
Lauren Shriver heads up the school's SOS task force.
So about 80% of our students said that both the calendar change and the schedule change were definitely decreasing stress.
There's even homework-free weekends and holidays, not to mention.
We have free periods also, which really help. If I don't get to finish one thing, then I can finish it up the next day during my free period.
The school also eliminated the stress of bells ringing between classes.
Good luck. See you.
Some argue this is just a way to coddle students who need to be prepared for the real world. Pope disagrees. She says the current system is turning kids into robots, only interested in spitting out the right answer no matter what it takes, which ends up hurting them in the long run.
They're little robotrons. They're very good middle managers, but they're not good at being creative. They're not good at thinking out of the box. They're not good at actually listening to criticism and accepting it, and they're not good at working in a team. And all of these things are what we need to succeed in the global economy.
So, can the SOS plan succeed in schools without sacrificing those all-important grades?
exhale.
According to Castanea High, the stress rates have dropped, but the grades have not.
Bonk anybody?
I think it's a very good point because, you know, you look at this, especially if you don't go to a school or your children don't go to a school that offers this type of program, you're thinking, oh, homework-free weekends, yoga classes, staggered classes.
They're just hanging out.
Yeah, they have it easy, but they have said that the grades have not dropped. The schoolwork remains the same. They're just doing it in a different way. And when I spoke with the kids there, they're still stressed. I mean, there's a difference between a good stress and the kind of stress that takes you to that breaking point. I spoke with one student who spent 5 hours a night, even with this program, 5 hours a night on homework, and she's applying to 11 different colleges. So when you think about it, they are under a lot of pressure. So if you can reduce it, I'm sure, you know, a lot of parents out there are looking for ways. This is at least one way, and it's in 45 schools across the nation, all the way from California to Texas to New York, Wisconsin even.
It is. We always think you're going to be strict and more homework and more testing and all this. Just chill out.
Just for a
relax.
minute.
Just